Okay. So we're learning. Here, let me set some signals are on. Okay. So make sure that the live stream is on. Yes, it is. Yeah, fine. So we're in Hilchos Eidus. We're up to this is Siman 28. Right. So what is it? What do they call it? A section or a sub? I don't know what they
Subset.
call it officially. That's Siman. Yeah, the
Yeah,
sections and
section
subsections.
section 38, and then SIF is subset.
28 subsection 2. So we'll just a quick recap of if one was that somebody who knows Eidus for his friend, and of course the Mir Sinayim, the Sma says by his friend we mean for Eidus for another Jew. He has a requirement to testify. When does he have a requirement? When he is fitting, when there is a benefit, and when he is summoned by his friend. And so what does that mean? So fitting, the Sma says that it means that it excludes if he is puzzle, if he's somebody who for one reason or another is not allowed to testify. Why is he not allowed to testify? Because he's a gambler, he's a thief, he's whatever reason it is that he's been rendered not allowed to testify
So we're talking about
on.
the cloud can't testify, not just in
Yeah,
this situation. It's not that he's a
meaning,
relative. Kara is
well, it could be
saying that.
also, or if he's a karev, or if he's a karev.
Okay.
Well, there's two opinions on that. There's one opinion that it excludes a puzzle. There's another that I mean, for obvious reasons, that it excludes a karev, a relative, because the Beis Din is not going to accept the testimony of a relative.
Right.
Um, but that is only if there's a chayrim, according to that opinion. This says the Sma. Chayrim meaning that there's what do you call a chayrim? Means that basically there's a
Excommunication.
yeah,
Ban.
yeah, which we'll talk about later in the next if about it. But if there's an excommunication, meaning it means that either come testify or you will be excommunicated. So then a relative has to show up, but otherwise he's not of any benefit. So why would he show up?
Hashtag
Two, the
cancel.
sec
But yeah.
yeah. That's the second requirement is a benefit. With the Sma it uses excludes. He says this excludes somebody who did not see a loan take place, for example, right? Unless the borrower said, "You are my witness," because as we'll learn later, if you witnessed somebody talking about it, it's your testimony is not worth anything. For example, if even if I see Reuven and Shimon, Reuven goes to Shimon and says, "You owe me $100," and Shimon says, "Yeah, I owe you $100." That's not a valid testimony. You have to either have seen him actually loan the $100, or Shimon has to say, "Yeah, I owe you $100." In fact, Levi, come here. You're my witness that I owe him $100. Oh, then
Right.
you're a good witness. Otherwise, he might just be looking to get the guy off his back. He doesn't want to argue with him right now, whatever. But you're not a proper witness. You didn't witness it actually happened. You just witnessed him talking about it.
Right.
Three, if he's summoned by his friend, so says the Sma, meaning specifically he was summoned to Beis Din, right? And just like Vishama Kel Allah is only when summoned, so too in Yagid is only when summoned. Basically, there's somebody who witnesses and there's somebody who holds back his testimony. These are etc. These are taken from different parts of Sukkim, and these are both being that the one part is only when summoned to a Beis Din. So this tells us the whole thing is only when summoned to a Beis Din. Um, Now this that he has to show up applies whether or not there's a second witness with him, right? We know that in general, for a proper testimony, it requires two witnesses. In this case, he says even if there's not another witness with him, and says the Sma that he should not wait for another witness to come forward, but rather he should come forward immediately. So wait, what's the benefit? because the benefit is that even though they cannot rule based on one witness, but they can require a shvuah. They can require him to swear with one witness, and therefore there is a testimony because maybe, in fact, it's usually so that it is usual that that people would rather they're not going to want to take a false oath. It's a big problem to take a false oath. In fact, some people would rather swear than take a true oath, just to avoid taking an oath because
Right.
an oath is
That's what
such
I'm
a
saying.
heavy
That,
thing.
that that's one of the things like why oath today we don't do. I remember being explained this when I was a kid, first learning this like concept. Is it's just such a heavy thing to take the Abish's name in vain. The respect that it was like, even if I know for sure 100%, but what if there's a detail I say accidentally wrong in the Abish's name? It's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Right.
So it's just too heavy. So that's why today, and even back then, officially people would back out. Very often, fine, they would what's it called? They go into arbitration. They'd figure out some sort of deal, so they wouldn't have to make
Just to avoid,
a
yeah.
shvua. But today, we don't have that same respect. The
No,
Abish's
it's
name,
which which
sadly.
which which is unfortunate because, well, I mean, first of all, we don't actually have a proper we don't actually have the same level of, I think, of shavua like we used to have, anyways.
Right.
But even
Yeah, that's what I'm
so, like,
saying. But I think it comes from that. Like, I
yeah.
think the way it was explained to me was why not? Because we still have Sifrei Torah, we still have swearing in Hashem's name. You're like, what's the
Well, it's also, I
problem
mean,
is?
a big part of it is what is that we don't actually even have proper based in like they had in Eretz Yisrael, and we
Right.
don't actually have a proper testimony like they had.
There was a
So
story. There's a story about the Shalah. And it wasn't about the Shalah because maybe it was the Shalah and it was his own story. I think so. I think it was about somebody else, but he used the Shalah.
yeah,
You know the story?
no, I don't think so.
It's a whole story about a guy. Yeah, there was some sort of this financial dispute or something, and so he told the guy, "Really? Are you absolutely positive?" And the guy said, "Yes, absolutely." He said, "So much so you're willing to swear on the luchais?" And the guy was like, "What?" But this is such a big tzaddik. This Rebbe was such a big tzaddik. He was like, "He had the luchais. They hid them, but after by his vision, like the
Who
Romans
knows
never
by the
got them.
Shalom?
Like,
Who knows what's yeah.
maybe I don't think it was the Shalah because that's the punchline. Is that basically he sent his student down to get the luchais, and the guy was like, "Yep, I'll swear on the luchais." And then he hit the stairs. The guy's coming back up the stairs, and he steps, and he's getting closer down the hall, and the guy's heading and goes, "All right, I'm not gonna swear." He was right. I owe him money. But so so and what did the guy walk in with? He walked in with the shalom, the shnei luchas abres, shnei luchas abres. So it's like I don't think it was Shalom himself. I think it was someone else, like after, or maybe even a contemporary of, like where he had the set of the Shalom.
Right.
And then the point was, the Shalom, so such a holy sefer, that would also be an intense thing to swear on. But it was like a nice trick to get the guy. But this guy seemed clearly had some sort of. I mean, it's also after Bezdins were disbanded. What power did they have? Like in Europe somewhere, in the 1500s, 1000s. I don't know.
Right. And even
But
then
still,
they weren't really the same.
that's what I'm saying.
And not only that, even
In.
there, even already in Shulchan Aruch, you see where it already talks about that the Yudas Aderis, the going down the generations, that even in the times of the Shulchan Aruch already, people did not have the same respect for for lying, for the cloud, for a testimony, for shvua, etc. So
Yeah, yeah.
even more so now. But in either case, so that's why he would have to appear. And we should make a disclaimer. All of this is talking about proper when you're talking about a proper. In other words, these rules used to be hard and fast. Now there is a lot more leeway because the basin of today is for the purpose of keeping society going and not everybody stealing from each other. So there's a lot of things that, even though, in other words, these are actually the guidelines, but at the end of the day, a lot of room is given to basically what the based in is chopping is going on here, you know. As opposed to back then, the rules were much more hard and fast, and because they were it was with proper witnesses, with proper based in, with proper everything. So now, what happens if he doesn't testify? It says he's potter the adam, meaning he's not obligated in the based in does not punish him. However, he is chayiv b'dei shemayim to pay the loss he caused. That he's from above. He's meaning he's even though the based in will not take that money from you, you still owe it. Meaning you caused the loss. You didn't show up. Now the guy came, there was no proof, and he didn't get paid back his thing. So based in, at the end of the day, they can't rule anything. They can't. What's it called? But at the end of the day, between you and God, you caused the loss, and you are now obligated to pay this guy for the loss you caused him by not showing up to testify for him. The Sma says this includes also two Eidim. If it's two Eidim and you didn't show up and you could have, meaning it's not just talking about one Eid and you didn't and you failed to cause him to swear on that he whatever, but also if you have two Eidim and you could they could have ruled based on your testimony. So you caused a loss and you are now the same thing. Based in does not obviously the exclusion would be in the case of Eidim Zaymimin, right? Which is Eidim that other Eidim then come and say you weren't there. That we know for in that particular case, it's Kasha Zomam Lases, like that in the case of that specific thing, Eidim Zaymimim, they actually would be based in would extract from them what the loss that they caused. So this Ma also says this is in contrast to the law of the Gemara later, which that they are that they're trusted, right, to be mechayiv themselves in based in. And here, because them not speaking is a testimony, so we're not, they're not trusted to retract it. So yeah, in either case, it's different than in other words, there's a whole bunch of laws as to, in terms of at what point is a person able to make himself a to make himself a Russia. Oh, the executive producers are.
Hey, Ira.
How's it going? You're muted.
I was watching you on Facebook and then on YouTube, and I couldn't see myself, because then I switched over to Zoom.
There we go. Much better that way.
And that's when you saw me.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Where you guys been all these months?
Well, we just we weren't necessarily, we've gone back now to the to being live. We had to figure out how to schedule it properly.
We got camera shy and we got hibernated.
Oh yeah,
the winter.
Right.
But now we're back.
We went to sleep in this gullus.
Thank you for including me.
Thank you for including yourself. We appreciate you
more often. Yeah, let's get back on track. I'm ready.
Exactly. Okay. So now the Sma says that that what we're talking about here is without him swearing that he does not know Eidus, that he does not know testimony. Right? Which means it says im lo yagid v'nos aveinai, if he does not say anything and he will carry his sin. Why? Because if he swore that he doesn't know, now it's different. Now it's not just you're holding back testimony. You swore falsely now. It's a whole different thing. That's v'shama keila Allah. Right? That's from a different part of the pasuk, and in fact he would be obligated to bring a carbon. So the fact that you're obligated to bring a carbon means you've actually you've committed a sin over there. The Sma also now what happens? Okay, so we know that if he doesn't testify, he doesn't show up, doesn't testify. So what happens? So so he's obligated from heaven that he owes him, right? Um, the Sma says, however, it wasn't. So now, what happens if the litigant goes and seizes it from the witness? Right? We know he owes him. He's chayiv b'dei shamayim. You owe him money, even though Beis Din cannot enforce it. They cannot rule on it, etc. So now, what happens? The litigant says, "You know what? You were supposed to show up and give testimony, and you didn't. And now I got a loss of $100. I'm coming and grabbing. I'm taking in your front yard. You have a flower pot that's worth $100. I'm coming and seizing it." Says the Mir Sinayim, we would return it to the witness. We will return this to the witness. We don't allow him to seize, and this is different than other case. We have another case, right? We have the case we have there's a case of Kimle b'derabimine, right? So the whole case of Kimle, right? We're not talking about like some kind of Korean cabbage or something like that. It's like Kimli when we talk about halachim, like Kimli b'derab, which means that I already paid the more I already paid the heftier thing, so now I'm not obligated anymore for the lighter thing. Like in the case that you're obligated for two things, right? In that case, it's just that we don't give the more lenient. And what he's asking here is like this: we see in the case of the Gemara by Kimli b'derab, right? Let's say, for example, I went and I don't know, I came to rob your house, and you beat me up real good, right? And then you also want to extract money from me. You say, no, you already beat him up real good, so we're not going to also let him extract the money. In that case, we see though, if he went and seized it, he keeps it. So he says, wait, says the Sma, why is this different here? So if he seizes it, he owes him money. If he seizes it, let him keep it. And he says, no, that's different, because in that case, he's obligated by Beis Din. He's obligated in the hands of man to pay both. Only what? Since you already had the first punishment, the bigger punishment, you're now absolved from the lighter punishment. So, but you're still obligated by man, by the laws of man. You're obligated by Shulchan Aruch law. You're obligated, you know. Whereas in this case, he's not obligated at all in the hands of man. He's only obligated from between him and God. So therefore, if the guy seizes it, it's not a good seizing because, in other words, that guy has to come make his peace with his Eibishter. You know, he owes the money and he needs to come and give it because it's between him and God that he owes this. Unlike the Kimli, in the case of the Kimli, where he's actually obligated for both things, but Beis Din is only give meeting out the one punishment because that's the rule that when there's a bigger punishment, the lighter punishment, you only give the bigger punishment. So that's the difference. So in this case, says the Sma, you if the witness would go, if the litigant would go, and he would extract it from the witness, saying, "Wait a second, you're chayiv b'dei shamayim." We say, "No. That's chayiv b'dei shamayim means he has to come and give it to you. That's between him and God. It's not you're seizing it does not count. You have to give it back to him." The Sma Neshach, her the Mahariv, he says that what hang on a second, what happens if you know information, but you know it's confidential, right? You come to me and you tell me that right, and I'm is Reuven lent Shimon money, right? Shimon in the basin, he's denying it. I don't owe it. He said, wait a second. Mendel, his shrink. Let's say I'm his shrink. I'm nobody's shrink. Arguably, I might need my own shrink.
Perfect shrink. You messed up already. Back to Mendel.
I'm well qualified. I understand the problem. So let's say I'm his shrink or his accountant. Say I'm his accountant, and you say, wait, he knows about this. He. What do you call it? He
Right.
witnessed this, whatever it is.
It's an NDA.
I'd say, listen, I know, but when I witnessed it, right? Let's say not only that. Let's say the loan took place in front of me during a session, right?
Right.
um. Okay, but I say, listen, but I have confidentiality issues. I can't, in other words, not only that, I am obligated to, in fact, nowadays, usually that obligation is written in contract.
Right.
So I'm breaking a contract, which breaking a written contract is a bad thing.
Right.
So says the Mariv, and the Sma and the Shach both bring this, that the litigant, the Beis Din makes the litigant absolve the person who's bound by confidentiality. They make him absolve his requirement of, I mean, obviously, case by case, not necessarily altogether, but for the information that relates to this particular case, Beis Din makes the person, the litigant who the witness has an obligation to of confidentiality. He makes him absolve him of that, and he gives him permission to share it. The Ramah says that one aid only testified because remember we said there has to be a benefit. So therefore, when we're talking about that, the one witness testifies, we're talking only about by money things, because if it's something that's not, if it's a criminal, right? There's criminal court and civil court. If it's in a criminal court, the testimony of one aid is of no help. There's no in monetary cases, so he could make a shvua happen, right? He could cause that that he has to swear. In criminal cases, no such thing. You can't, like criminal cases, you don't, one aid coming forward doesn't make him, so you can't, okay, swear that you didn't murder him. And if you don't swear that you didn't murder him, now you're a murderer. It doesn't work that way. In those cases, you have to have two witnesses. Or alternatively, one aid also is in order to stop him from doing an isser, to stop him from doing a prohibition. Right? Meaning, so if the isser happened already, he already did the prohibition, then you're not, the court is not going to rule based on this again and punish him for his prohibition. So all you're doing is like you're putting out a bad name on somebody. So then there's no practical outcome from the Eidus. But if you're coming and the guy says he's going to do a prohibition and you coming will help stop it, then you're required also. So those are the cases according to the Ramah that one witness would still have to show up. It continues the Mechaber that you have to know Eidus firsthand. It can't be overheard, even if it's from a very honest person. And the Sma says, like it says in the Pasuk, Yodah. Either you saw or you know. So wait a second. So you know. So then why is he saying that it's not overheard? That means you know directly from the borrower that he admitted with a complete admission, that he in front of you said, "You are my witness," like you said before. If you saw that he just tells Reuven, yeah, I owe you money, it doesn't count. It means that he said, yes, I owe you money. In fact, Levi, come here, you're my witness, I owe him money. So then that's called a Yodah, meaning why is it only he knows and he didn't see? Because the Ra'ah he saw means he saw the actual loan itself. So what's the Yada, or he knows adding? It's adding when it's a proper, when he was made a witness, even though he didn't see the original loan, but Shimon made him a proper witness, as opposed to doesn't count when he overheard it from somebody else, even if it's a very honest person. Let's say a person who would never lie, he's a tzaddik, he wouldn't lie, and I heard from him that he saw the loan. This does not work. Then you do not give testimony. Your testimony is of no help, and therefore you're not required to show up. Otherwise, you are not to come as an aid, even if just to make it look like there's an extra aid, right? That you're going to come. You're going to come and say that Yisma explains that, like it says, midvar sheker tirchak, stay far away from a thing from lies, from words of lies. Right? That what's he trying to do? He will make the litigant afraid. The litigant will think that there was a witness. Oh, wait, he has two witnesses, and then he'll admit to it. And then if not, and they say, okay, bring forward the witnesses, then you'll walk away and say, no, I'm not a witness. I'm just standing here. I was just coming for moral support. I'm not a witness or whatever. So you're not allowed to do this because this is like causing you're influencing the case by lying. So the summary of Sif 1 is you must testify for another Jew in Beis Din, in which case, if you are fitting, there's a benefit and you are summoned. This applies also to one witness by money matters or to stop somebody from doing a prohibition. And you must know the testimony firsthand. And if you don't say testimony, that you'll carry your sin, that if you don't testify, you are obligated to for the loss of the litigant in the hands of heaven. So that's one.
If you see something, say something.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's right. That's one of the things. If you see something, say something. Sif 2. Sif 2. Okay. Adam Rashai Lahachim Beis HaKnesset L'Kol Mi Sheyidei Eidus Shel Yodah. Okay. A person can make a cherem in the synagogue, in the shul, that anybody who knows about who was a witness come forward and testify. Right. So what does a cherem mean? A cherem means that
Canceled. Hashtag canceled.
Yeah, it can't, right. Cancel culture. Yeah, it means and basically it's a funny thing because by a cherem
and time out. It's when I say excommunicated, to me that actually sounds more like kare.
Right. Well, what it mean? Well, let's talk. What it really mean? What a cherem means is that, for example, there's certain things like you're not allowed to get an aliyah for the Torah.
Right.
And
but it's time out.
You're not allowed to daven dominion.
It's time out. You're losing your privileges until you can behave, until you do tshuva.
Right. But it's an interesting. But the interesting part about it is that it's self-regulating.
Cut. Like just cut off. But you're not so much cut off because the point is you're supposed to be around to kind of rub it in your face. Be like, no, don't you want to behave and be a part of this? Like,
but it's a funny. This is a funny case of a cherem.
Right.
Because a usual case of a cherem is, okay, you're being a bad boy, and Beis Din will enact a cherem on you.
Right.
In this case, essentially, he's coming and showing up, and he's saying that anybody who testifies, who knows testimony and does not testify, put yourself in cherem, and they're required to do so.
Right.
If they knew something and didn't. So, which is a funny thing. This guy, he's not coming to testify. He doesn't care about that. All of a sudden, but then he's so frum, he's going to go put himself in a cherem. So it's a little hard to understand idea. But
no, but you have people who they're from Yidden, but they're afraid to stand up, to do things in public, to actually stand up with the right in front of other people. So one thing, okay, I'll live in my corner. I'll come to shul every day, whatever. You actually want me to get involved in community politics? You want me to get involved in other people's lives? No, that I can't do. I don't want to be involved in that. They're saying, excuse me, you have an obligation to. If you saw something, if there's something you can provide and contribute to the world around you, it's a very universal lesson for all of us. You have an obligation to. And if Chas v'shalom you don't, then you're in timeout, just like anyone else. You're in timeout.
Right, but
it doesn't mean, that's what I'm saying. That's what I want to stress. Cherem is not you're kicked out. Chas v'shalom, no. It's no. We want you to be involved. It's not that you're such a bad boy. We can't have you anymore here because you're misbehaving. You're ruining it for everyone else. No, it's the opposite. It's no. We want you to be involved. You're supposed to be involved here. So behave properly so that you can be. So right. Until you're ready,
but at the end of the day, it's on the person himself to.
So I'm saying in this situation, the point is that here you can't just sit and pretend like everything's normal because you have to put yourself in chayim. You can't just sit and pretend, oh, I'm still a good Jew. No, you were supposed to do this. You have an obligation to do this thing,
Right.
and until you do it, no, you're not. You're on probation. You're on timeout. Right. Your whole Yiddishkeit, your whole identity is on timeout, and you need reminders, that constant reminders in your face that you know. And it's something very serious. I'll say, I knew someone in my childhood. It was someone who had a lot of, like, half his brain was fried from the drugs and war and Vietnam and all this different kinds of stuff. Yeah. Mamish, heilige Yiddo, would walk around Berkeley saying Tanya Mishnah. He was a kohen. And there were times he had a very difficult time coming to shul and do Birchas Kohenim. Partially because he was on medications that made him sleep a lot, but also there was a big part of him that had this whole emotional turmoil of, like, I'm not fitting to give the bracha. I'm a bad boy. I'm not, he felt guilty. He felt, I'm such a simpleton. Who am I to give the bracha to the Eibishter, have the Shekhinah pass through me to the Jewish people? And my mother used to talk to him and say, this is a huge schus, and it's not because of anything you did. You are a kohen, that is who you are. So don't worry about it, and all that other stuff. And it helped him. It did help him. This thing of, like, he would go to bed very early so he could wake up early so he could actually be. I'm like, the schus you have to give all the people in Berkeley brachas, because how many kohen do we have showing up the show? Very often none. So it was like a whole thing of that he would be asked to do it. But then in later years, he got they gave him the wrong medication, and he would be at the front door of Chabad House, and he had a hard time for an hour. He couldn't come in the show. Couldn't come in Chabad House because he's like, I shouldn't be here. No, but I have to be here. But I can't. It's not me. Like, this whole struggle, and I think, he had it to an extreme degree, but I think we all struggle with that sometimes, where we do this to ourselves. Right. Where we put ourselves in chayim. And my point is actually that a lot of times we do it when it's inappropriate. But it's not our place to put ourselves in chayim. The Bezdin says you put ourselves in chayim. Okay, that's what you need. But you shouldn't be putting yourself in timeout because you feel that's your Yitzhahara speaking. If the Bezdin says you be in timeout, okay, fine. But yeah, I think there's something to that. So what it means, it's not excommunication as much as it is a timeout.
You're right. So
probation.
It means right, 100%. It's but at the same time, it is a heavy thing.
Yeah, no, probation. That's what I mean.
Because, like, for example, somebody in chayim, there's people in the community aren't supposed to do business with him, and even to a point where it makes a problem for shidduchim for his children, and so the bottom line is, a person can go, but it's still a funny thing because essentially this is not a chayim, unlike most chayims that are enacted by Beis Din.
Right. I hear.
This is a he's announcing basically, if you know testimony and you don't come forward, you're in chayim. Okay, well, how does anybody know about it since he didn't come forward? No, he's required to enact on himself a chayim, basically.
Right. There's no publication coming out from Beis Din going on all the WhatsApp groups saying this guy's in chayim.
Yeah.
The person himself is going to have to do it, say it, so he's ready to. What's interesting is because if someone does that, then everyone's going to know it's because they know something they're supposed to be testifying about. Because I don't think there's any other self-imposed chayim like this. Everything else it would come from the Beis Din. That the guy's in chayim.
Right, as opposed to you're telling you put yourself in chayim if you don't come forward.
If I let the Rav know that I'm in chayim, then the Rav's gonna know. Oh, he knows something. He saw something.
Yeah. However, he says you cannot go, and we're talking about an individual here. You cannot go and force them to swear that they don't know testimony.
Right,
right. You can only go and announce that whoever knows and doesn't come forward, right? And the Ramah says here rather that if he doesn't come forward, he's going to have a problem between him and God, right? However, if Beis Din sees, then they can make him, right? Einim you im nidle veistin tzedich sha'al lash biyon shagidu emes harshus biyadan. So even though the person, the litigant, cannot force somebody to swear, all he can do is make this announcement in shul that, hey, if you know something and you don't say something, I'm making a chedim. But so he can't make them swear. But based in, they can make, so they're allowed to make somebody swear that he doesn't know testimony. Yeshayim, some say that when he make the kishnesim chedim be'edus, when he does make such a chedim, af kerovim tzrichim lahayid, even relatives need to come forward. Va'afilu bal davar ba'atzmei tzarich lahayid, and even the defendant himself has to come and testify. V'yesh chalkin, and there are those who argue on this. V'chein ikar, and this is the main law. V'ayin b'Yoreh Deah simin Rish Lamed Beisi in Yoreh Deah. What do you do by a king that commanded to make a chedim with Eidus? Anyway, we're not going to go into there right now. But let's see, what do we have here? So, Siftu, a litigant can make a chedim in shul. Anybody who knows Eidus should testify. Now the shach says, let's look inside in the shach. Shach says, where is that part? So what does it mean? He can't make them swear. He can't make them swear that they cannot go to a beis din, right? And you can't force them to go to a beis din by himself to swear that we accept with the proper swearing that that we do not know Eidus for him. Or they say you are hereby swearing that you don't know what, and they say amen, similar to like I do, right? They say I hereby promise to tell the whole truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and you say I do. So that's in the basin. They would be similar, and they would say you are hereby swearing that you don't know anything about this thing, and he would answer amen. V'nira the hu adin chedim b'chaygav nagam kin in lekabel aleim b'inyin zeh v'shvu v'chedim in echadu. That also you can't force him to go to a beis din and take out and extend and have a chedim put on him, but rather just he does this on himself. And only specifically, meaning the shach is saying he can't go and force specific people. Just like he can't force them to swear in beis din, he can also not put a chayrim on specific people and force them to what's it called. Rather, he can only go in the beis din and say anybody who knows. Right, ala klal, on the general congregation. The hainu leimer kol mi mikem yedea, meaning that to say that he says that any of you who knows. Oy al yichin befrat, or on any specific person who knows. The and actually, I guess there's the Mabit holds different. He holds that you actually can, but the Ramah is not holding by him. But Bekitzer, the Shema, the Shach is saying that if he makes a chayim on the klal on the congregation, he can't go back. So he can make a chayim on an individual. He can't force him to go to beis din to get a proper chayim. Just like he can't force him to go to beis din to get a proper like beis din shvua. He also can't force him to go to Beis Din. That Beis Din will put a chayim on him, put a chayim if he doesn't, or whatever. But he can't, once he goes and says, any of you who knows, he can't then go and start harassing individuals. The Ramah says, we said that he cannot make them swear right in front of Beis Din, but rather only do this thing in a shul. And so, why? Because it's im lo yagiz v'no salveina. If he refuses to say it, then he carries his sin. It's between him and God. But you can't make him go. But he's not chayiv b'di adam. He's not chayiv in the hands of man. So you can't go and make him go to a Beis Din. And but a Beis Din can make him swear. Why? Because the Sma says even somebody who would hold back testimony or even say false testimony is still afraid of a false oath. Because a false oath carries a lot more weight than just false testimony. Fine, I'm a liar. I give false testimony. I'm an Eid puzzle. I'm a sinner. But a false oath carries a major, it's a much bigger, badder thing. That we say that even somebody who would give false testimony would not give a false oath. Right. And then we said some say that even a karev, right, and the Ketzais adds or even a puzzle.
It's funny. I just want to dwell on that for a second. The false testimony versus the false oath. I think the difference is it lied to the Beis Din, but lie to the Lord, lie to God. I don't think so. I think that's the nafshimit.
Well, it's sort of like it's like the famous story, right? Of the it says
the thief who davens.
The thief davens for success.
Yeah.
The thief davens for success that in his
because it's one thing. Okay, I'll fool my fellow man, but the Eibishter, and the fact that there was a certain emunah in that, I think there's a beauty to that. I think
right.
There's something there. I don't know that I have to say. I think for me personally, I'm the opposite. I'm like, the Eibishter will understand. He knows me better than anyone. There's Molly Nachem, maybe he's my father. People, they're not going to understand, but the Eibishter will understand. And I think it's lacking. It's lacking a certain Yiras Hashem, in that way of the awe and respect of not just okay, fine, the Eibishter will understand, but how could I for the Eibishter, to misbehave, to say such a thing. But yeah, anyway, it's just an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's a different level of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so some say that even we said that some say that even a karev or the Ketzais says even a puzzle. Right? Must testify to be absolved of the chedim. So the question is why? I thought we said that if there's no benefit, and the answer is there is a benefit because it can help bring other facts. Because remember, and the truth is, I would say this is even more so nowadays. Because nowadays, back then, a lot of it was, in other words, listen, you're coming to a proper Beis Din, and you're going to give proper testimony. Nowadays, a lot of it has to do with the Beis Din is really a fact finding. We're looking to find out the facts. We're looking to see what really happened, and we're looking to help mediate this thing or resolve this thing or whatever it is.
It's more fancy arbitration than it is what they did.
Yeah, so nowadays it's Beis Din is a little bit different. And the way a Beis Din works, we're looking to resolve this thing. We're looking to figure out what happened, and based on this, we're gonna rule to rectify the situation,
right?
Or to do nothing if we deem the situation already rectified, right? So, even a relative coming forward, even though it's true in the Beis Din in the Sanhedrin in Yerushalayim, him coming forward and giving testimony, sorry, you're a god if you can't accept the testimony. Here nowadays, where we're just looking to figure out what happened, you know what I'm saying? But a relative can help bring some fact to light. Alternatively, a relative can also say, "Yeah, listen, I'm gonna. Here's what happened, and in fact, Shlomi was sitting right there. Oh, wait a second, hey, wait, Shlomi was sitting right there. Let's go get Shlomi. He's a witness, so it can help bring other witnesses to light as well."
What's interesting also is I would say that Bechlal about, let's say, an Eidei Psul, which is, okay, let him testify, but just take it with a grain of salt. just realize that this might be total fabrication. But yeah, like the
Right,
fact that it might bring up
but
other
you know,
witnesses.
even today in the court, to like strike, they're like, oh, like it could be even a proper testimony, and but it was they got this piece of evidence illegally, and they say, how they say
Right.
they instruct the
Stricken from
jury
the
to
record.
to ignore to
Yeah,
strike it.
instructed to
Now
ignore that.
the fact is they and attorneys use this as a because when you see something, you've seen it.
It still creates a risham. It still creates an impact, an impression. So
But
yeah, even
that's
though I'm officially supposed to
But
ignore
that's
it, but
why, if you
still.
know, for example, you'll have an attorney that shows evidence, and then they'll strike it. But had the judge known before what he's going to present, he would not even let him present it. So
Right.
that's a reason why you would want. Again, but that's back then. Nowadays, when we're really on a fact-finding mission, and we're just trying to understand what happened and help resolve it so it's a little bit different. This mas and we don't. It turns out we don't hold this way though. That the way the Ramah says is that a karev or a puzzle is not required to do anything. The Sma says that the lashon of the chayrim begins al das hamakim, and I already see al das hamakim on yeah, with the meaning with the with it almost means like with due respect to the one above, right? Let's see, al das hamakim al das hakol, with due respect to the one above, with due respect to the congregation, with it means something like that. However, so you'll say it's not the why does he bring that? I don't know. But in either case, he says that even though according to the Torah, Karev cannot testify, and there's no monetary consequence, and so that's why he doesn't testify. The Kitzai says even though a relative is not chayav, because if he wouldn't testify, there would not be he would not carry a sin because he's not fitting to testify. He still has a mitzvah to come forward because of Hashavas Aveda, returning a lost article, since he could possibly help them figure out what happened. Anyway, the summary is a litigant can make a chayrim in a shul, but he cannot make people swear. The Beis Din can make people swear if they feel that if they see a good reason to do so. And that is if 2. Tomorrow, Mirza Hashem, hopefully tomorrow, or I don't know what's tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Yes, Mirza Hashem, we will continue on the next possible time that we can continue. We will continue with Seif Gimel, Seif 3.
Sounds good.
Okay.